Welcome to the Doylestown Township's fourth budget workshop of the year. Today is October 21st, and we have all of our supervisors in attendance. We have one is attending by phone, so I'm going to go around the table and just have everybody introduce themselves so that Nancy knows who's here. Dan, would you like to start?
Yeah, Dan Wood, Township Supervisor.
Judy Dixon, Township Supervisor.
Charles Ziegler, Chief of Police.
Eric Cornwell, Finance Committee.
Chris Gioli, Finance Committee.
Christina Maida, Finance Committee. Stephanie Mason, Township Manager.
Ken Wallace, Finance Director.
Ed Ebenbach, Budget Analyst.
John Michael Signorelli, Assistant Finance Director.
Dave Tomko, Director of Operations.
Andrea Markner, Assistant Township Manager.
Barbara Lyons, Township Supervisor.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much. Oh, and Nancy, would you like to introduce yourself? Okay, wonderful. All right, with that done, I will turn the meeting over to our Finance Committee, our Finance Director, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Today's goal is for the Finance Department to receive authorization from the Board of Supervisors to move the budget to the next step, which would be the November Board of Supervisors meeting. So to start off the agenda would be the capital plan, and everybody received their books back on October 9th, which had the summary of all the capital expenditures for 2026 and the CapEx forms that provided the detail. And I wanted to ask if there was any follow-up questions to those capital projects for 2026.
I have none. I did not either.
I think you were very thorough at your explanations before, so comfortable.
Okay. The next item would be a quick review for the 2025-2026 capital projects timeline. And as you received this document back on October 9th, it gave a timeline as far as what the capital projects were going to be for 2026. And I just want to reiterate that these are going to be the projects that we're going to move forward with in 2026 as far as the township is concerned. Just wanted to remind everybody to that.
That would be the last page of that document. Okay. Is 26.
So, again, was there any follow-up questions to those capital projects as far as 2026 is concerned?
I have none.
You want to talk about the leasing?
Doesn't sound like it. Any other? Right.
Just a reminder that, in the 2026 capital budget, there are 2 police vehicles and a piece of equipment for the Public Works Department. I plan on soliciting lease proposals from different financial institutions for 2026, and that's, I'll be bringing back the results as far as that is concerned. So that's the game plan, and the strategy is for the Finance Department to move forward with that eventually. All right, number 3, 2026 to 2030 operations plan. Now I have here the highlights of the 2026 operations forecast. Just a reminder that Ed and I ran a September 30th report out of the finance package. And for 2025, the results are still positive. There's a difference of about $5,000 in positive as far as the forecast for 2025. So like I said, it's turning out to be a good year. We're going to be watching as far as the transfer taxes are concerned. Real estate taxes continue to be stable. And of course, the earned income tax and the local services tax. We'll be keeping an eye on that. Okay? So I wanted to...
One quick question. So there were expenditures that we were seeing this evening. Mr. Tomko's proposed some things that we are going to approve. Are they also in this forecast for 2025?
You're talking about things for the CRC project?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, they are included in the
Yes,
budget numbers.
We forecast to spend the entire collection of funds that are for the building, so yes, they're definitely in there.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the highlights of the 2026 operations forecast, that page there, the main assumptions is that the real estate collections are still stable at 99%. Delinquent taxes, $50,000 in '25. A quarter mil increase is being proposed, down from 1.55 mils proposed at last year's budget process. EIT estimated to increase by 2.5% to $6.3 million, up $255,000. MMOs, like I said, it was the major mover as far as that was concerned, with the savings of $360,000 for mitigated the request and millage increase. Salary increases, 3.5% average for the non-uniform and uniform via their contract is 4.5%. Interest income is going to be forecast down by $194,000. Construction funds will be depleted and interest rates will decline. That's our feeling for 2026. The Health Trust, the Delaware Valley Health Trust, came in with a 6% rate increase for our medical. There will be, due to hiring delays in 2025, you'll see further into the meeting that there's going to be like an additional 3% because of the hiring delays in 2025, because those people are going to be full employees in 2026. So I'll point that out when we get to that. Items to watch: real estate transfer tax, building permits, state contributions, and of course the police contract and the fire companies in the next 5 years. Any questions? We do, but it's a conservative estimate because we have an assumption of 2.5% growth out in the outer years. So yes, we do, continue to have a upward slope as far as the earned income tax is concerned.
And is Doylestown Walk at the end of the cycle in terms of the EIT?
Well, Doylestown Walk is assuming is completed and built out. So those individuals that are going to be living there are going to be, in that stream as far as the earned income tax. So, like I said, we do have an upward slope of 2.5% assumption that's built into the outer years from 26 to 30. So to answer your question is yes. Okay. Main assumptions for 2026 to 2030 operations forecast. That's where I'm at now. The economy continues business as usual. We don't have any recessions or disruptions or depressions or anything like that. EIT continues to increase 2.5% annually, like I just said. Real estate taxes will continue to be stable as far as we're concerned. 99% growth. 99% collections. Excuse me. And then we have an increase of $0.25 million in 2026, then $0.5 million each year thereafter, and that will be part of the millage plan when we get to that chart.
Just to clarify, that $500,000 each year thereafter, that's only for projection purposes to do a proper analysis. There's no way that this board is.
That's correct, Jen. This board can't commit beyond the 2026 budget at this point in time. So that's projection, and just like we thought it would be higher this year, but it's going to be lower. We would do that. We want to look ahead. We want to be forward thinking to 5 years out, but that doesn't mean it's going to change and be lower.
Well, as we had said at the beginning of the meeting, that our projection was to have a 1.55 mil increase, and now we're down to a quarter for 2026. So,
No, that's still, we always project out 3 to 5 years. So we're looking ahead. We've always done that.
And I have to say that I think I mentioned it last budget meeting, but a lot of municipalities don't go out this far.
No,
This is phenomenal work that our team does.
so in the 26 to 2030 operations forecast, we're talking about non-uniform 3.5% average in 2026 and a 4% thereafter, from 27 to 30. And then a uniform 4.5% per contract in 2026 and a 5% per year thereafter. That's what we built into the forecast. Fringes, defined benefit MMO savings of $360,000 in 26, and then we're growing that MMO payment by 3% per year for that level. And then, of course, our DC MMOs will continue to increase as we have more and more DB participants retire and they're replaced with DC members. And the growth there is 4% per year, plus increase of participants in 102,000 in 2026 and 130,000 in 2030. Medical is up 9% in 2026 and a growth of 7% per year thereafter from 27 to 30. Capital projects funded by transfer of available funds from the general fund is $4.3 million over that period. Park and recreation programs, revenue ramps up. It reaches to $600,000 by 2030. Park and recreation staffing also increases over the period to support revenue growth and facility utilization. And like I said, items to watch would be the new police contract in 2027 and the fire companies.
Again.
Is that 600,000 in 2030 annually or in aggregate?
It's annually. That's you'll see that. So let's us go to the detail behind these assumptions. Okay, there we go. So I'm on the full year revenue. And basically I'm going to be talking about 27 to 30, because we already covered back on October 9th, 2026. Okay? Let's talk about earned income tax. See our assumption there of 2.5% growth? We're talking about earned income tax revenue by 2030 of $7 million, a little over $7 million. The real estate tax, we have that $250,000 for 2026, and the assumption as far as the $500,000 growth at 2030, we're talking about almost $4 million in real estate tax for the general fund in Park and Rec. Transfer tax, we're keeping that flat level over that period of time. And then let's go down to programs. As you can see, in 2027, we're at $350,000. Everybody see that?
No.
Where's programs?
Park and Rec.
Park and Rec programs,
Okay.
Park and Rec.
And then projection 2027.
eighth line down
600,000.
in the 27 column.
So we're talking about, ramping the increase from $350,000 to $600,000 by 2030. That's what we're projecting. And then, like you see the golf outing and summer concerts and interest. We expect that the interest rates for 2026 and going out to 2030 are going to be either relatively flat or lowering, as far as the interest rates are concerned. So we're not going to realize as much income as interest income as we did before. We received a lot of interest income from the bond proceeds. Also, we had, good results as far as our CDs and money markets were concerned. But, those interest rates are starting to soften. Just 6 months ago, you could get a nice yearly CD for, 4.5 to 4.75. Now you're down in the high 3s to 3.5% as far as CDs are concerned. So you're seeing a softening of that revenue stream.
Would you switch over to this mic? That one's got a problem.
I'm switching over to this mic. All right, is there any questions about revenue?
Yeah, can you just give a quick summary as to how we go from 350 to 600? What contributes to that on the park and rec income?
Well, it's going to be, more utilization of the building because, it's, as far as the CRC has been in business, it's been open for about a month now, and with us talking to the Park and Rec department and their projected growth as far as participation is concerned, that's what they're projecting out to 2030, that they're going to reach $600,000.
Gross? Gross?
Yes, it is gross.
Well, the
That's the
expense
revenue
side is
side.
on the next page. Is that right?
That's correct.
That
That's
number
on
is
the park.
gross.
Yes.
Yes, that number is gross. Is there any more questions about revenue?
No.
Okay. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, let's take a look at the detail as far as, I won't bore everybody with the expense summary. So let's go to the detail for the police department. As you can see there, we projected from 27 to 30, a 5% growth as far as wages are concerned. That's the big mover there. We have some, as you can see there, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, the percentage assumption growth of the expenditures, 3.5%, 2%, some we kept flat. Okay, there's the expense assumption growth there. Admin, the same thing. We have a 3.5% growth as far as wages are concerned on this, and as you can see, we're using the 2%, 1% assumption growth as far as that was concerned. The other thing is that if you look at engineering, okay, the assumption for that is 0 because we kept it flat, relatively flat. Sometimes one year it goes up, another year it goes down. So the average over the forecast is about $345,000 because, like I want to reiterate, back on October 9th, we're taking these engineering fees, and the fees are following the project, okay? So that's one big thing about that there's going to be a little bit of a softening for the general fund exposure to engineering fees because those fees are going to be following the project, whether it's to capital reserve or to roads and bridges. Any questions? On to Public Works. Public Works there, as you can see, we have the assumption growth of 3.5% as far as the wages are concerned. Okay. Yes, and I was reminded of the vacancy percentage there. And as far as expenditures for the code enforcement department, we have a 3% assumption growth there. Those are the two big highlights for that.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, please?
The assumption is 3%. You see that there,
For wages?
Judy?
For wages.
No, go down 3 lines.
Okay.
You see it goes from 49.7 up to $54,304.
Okay.
So that's,
In Public Works.
I'm sorry, in Public Works.
Oh.
Sorry. Getting ahead of myself. All right. Park and Rec maintenance. Let's talk about programs. As you can see there, that's the 1, 2, 3, 4th line down. In 2027, we have program expenditures of $189,000 going all the way up to $350,000 by 2030. So you have revenue of $600,000 and expenditures of $350,000 in 2030.
What's in the program's number? What kind of expenditures? Not people, right?
Well, what kind of expenditures are in the programs?
The program expenditures, first off, the 600,000 in revenue has 100,000 of field revenue, which is basically 100% margin, and it has then 500,000 of program revenue. We attribute the way the department works. Basically, they hire people to give the programs, and they provide us with a 30% margin, so we have a 70% cost. So fundamentally, you could see the program expense line is revenue minus the field revenues, and that balance is in there. 70% of that balance is in as cost. And that's the revenue and the expense track in that fashion.
So it seems it's primarily people to run the programs that are generating revenue.
Could you please use the microphone? I can't hear you.
So people, I guess, people that you're bringing in to run the programs, right, that you're charging for?
Yes.
Okay. And the related supplies and whatever.
Yep, your fixed and variable costs. Any other questions? Okay. Okay, code enforcement. I was excited to get here. All right.
Why?
You don't know why.
Well,
Nothing exciting about code enforcement.
Oh, just you wait.
anyway, as you see, we projected the 3.5% for wage increases for the staff there. Okay? And as you can see, we're still using the 2% assumption growth as far as expenditures are concerned. Fringe benefits. Let's take a look, as you see at the top there. You have your MMOs for the defined benefits, and you got the uniform and non-uniform. And you see that with the 3% growth as far as the MMOs are concerned, by 2030, our MMO for the uniform is going to be $1.3 million, and your non-uniform is going to be $500,000. And then your DC members are going to be $130,000 as far as the MMO is concerned. And, with the, as I already said about the savings over time of $360,000, if you take a look at what, the 2023 actual was for, let's say, non-uniform, the MMO payment was $614,000, $646,000, $758,000, and then for 2026 it's going down to $449,000. And then, that's a considerable savings to the township. I wanted to talk about medical. Let's see here. Medical insurance. We had a forecast. Let's start with the budget for 2025. You see it there? We had a budget of almost $1.2 million, 1175. The forecast is going down to $1,121,000. Okay? That's because of delayed hiring. People coming on late in the year, middle of the year. Then we're budgeting for medical $1.2 million, which is where you get your 9% increase. So we're basing the increase on forecast to 2026 budget. Everybody understand? Because if you take it from budget to budget, from the 25 budget to the 26 budget, it's like a 4 to 5% increase. But we're basing the increase on the forecast for 2025, which you have a savings of $58,000, which is going to be used to pay for the medical insurance in 2026. Okay? So that's where you got that 9% movement, because Divot came back with a 6% increase for the township. Okay?
Thank you for the explanation. I was comparing those numbers in my head and something fell off.
Not a problem.
Because originally we were projecting 10% in cost, so we were projecting the 10% in cost, so we're good.
So is there any other questions concerning fringe benefits?
No. Thank you.
All right, the real estate tax millage proposal. Everybody have that available?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's in one that's back.
It's
There
in-
it is.
Which one is it? Okay, thank you.
As we've been talking about in our past couple of budget workshops, as you see there in 2026, we're proposing a $250,000 increase, which is $10 per year to the average taxpayer. And you see that that increase is going to be going towards the general fund operations. Because you got to remember, everybody, that you have these large differences between revenue and expenditures, or budget to actual. And you'll see that tonight when the auditor does his presentation, that you have these large budget to actual differences. I was going to say variances. But anyway, and then plus your expenditures. So we have revenues that are coming above budget and our expenses are coming below budget. But what we're doing is that we're using those surpluses to fund capital. And as you'll see in your 2024 budget, our financial statements, that we transferred out of the general fund $1.4 million for 2024. Going forward to 27 to 2030, you see a gradual increase of $500,000. And that's just a proposal in the plan. And as you see there, that down below, that we're actually trimming back roads and bridges as far as the millage is concerned. And also the debt service. And don't forget, everybody, that we're going to have a 5-year call for our 2022 refinance of our bond in 2027, which you may see some reduction there as far as your interest and principal payment is concerned.
So for the cutback in the roads and bridges, I just wanted to clarify. We had the accelerated roads program. We invested a lot into our roads so that we covered something like 45% of our roads we redid, something like that, 40, somewhere around there. And so after that, because we've completed the vast amount of it, we're tapering it down to about, how much, $800 a year? $800,000 a year, which is significantly more than it was prior to the accelerated roads program. So we're still investing in the roads.
Is there any questions about this real estate tax millage plan?
Nope.
Okay. We're going to move on to the fund balance. Would you like to take this? Sure. Go ahead.
All right, this is the presentation version of this chart. The one you saw at the last meeting was all numbers. This is numbers and graphs. And there's, the numbers are still up at the top, though they're just for selected funds. And one of our focuses, obviously, is the general fund. So let me draw your eye to the red line on the top. The red solid line is the general fund, the operating part of the general fund. And it has the same characteristic that even though we're throwing off positive net income every year, we're using the surpluses to fund capital. So lo and behold, the general fund decreases over time as we transfer those funds out to do capital projects. I think we had said we were going to transfer out something like 4.3 million, and you'll see the curve is going somewhere from 4.2 down to 2.9. So we still have some steam in the engine. It isn't all showing up in there, but there is a downward slope because we're using our reserves. The dashed line is something we've never plotted separately, but that has the concept of an operating reserve in the general fund. It is sitting today with $1.9 million in various very conservative investments, and it's something that Ken works on all the time, but we are showing that as sitting at 1.9 through the whole period. So when we get out to the end there in 2030, our operating part is down to about 2 million, but we're also at 2 million in a rainy day fund. You see the small percentage numbers up at the top of this presentation. You'll see that the 1.9 million that's in the operating part represents 10% of our operating costs at that time, which meets our standard. And if you go over 2 columns, you'll see that the 3.3 million that's in 2028 meets our standard of being between 15 and 20%. So what we have here is a plan that utilizes the general fund in a fairly healthy way, keeps a rainy day reserve, and meets our standards of 15 to 20% in year 3 and 10%, no less than 10% in year 5. The curves at the bottom, one of them is roads and bridges, one of them is parks, and the other is debt service. They're all satisfactory levels as far as we're concerned. We look at what we need to have in reserve at the beginning of each year so that we can get through the first 4 months before the first real estate tax revenue comes in. So we look at it from a cash perspective, and those reserves, those fund balances are of adequate level. Are there any questions on that? This is kind of what I've said in years past. This is kind of the answer sheet. This is the net result of everything we've done. And yes, next year, maybe it'll slide to the right. It all depends on how the forecasts come out, but by and large, this is a healthier picture than we've seen in quite some time, I would say. Okay.
Thank you. Tonight, when the auditor, does his presentation, you'll start to see a slight slippage in the general fund's fund balance because of the transfers out of the general fund as far as funding capital, funding other funds as far as that is concerned. It's not a lot, it's like $52,000, but you'll see a slight slippage in the fund balance for the general fund. And like I've said to everyone before, we don't want to get into a situation where we lose our AA1 rating as far as the township is concerned. Is there any other questions? Okay, we're going to move on to debt service.
This is a question that one supervisor had. So I have put in the package for this go-around one document, and I have another one that we're going to add to it today. I would draw your eye to the top, the debt service obligations by year. It probably sounds like gobbledygook, but this is the principal and interest payments that we pay out based on what they are. The note of 2017, the note of 2022. Actually, the print's kind of small. I can't read them all, but this is all the notes and bonds, and these are the specifics of principal and interest payments by year that we are obligated to pay. Now, that's useful for constructing the budget because it adds up the stuff the way it's presented to us by our financial supplier. But it's not a big help in understanding how is it used. So the chart that's below it is the first attempt to explain how the debt service millage is allocated by purpose. But I would like to draw your eye to the last page, which is exactly the same, except it isn't in millage, it's in actual dollars. As you'll note, we are spending somewhere on the order of $1.6 to $1.7 million a year on debt service. And these are the four reasons. The top line being the admin building, the building we're sitting in. We're spending about $630,000 a year, every year, to pay down principal and interest on that debt. Back in the bad old history, we borrowed some money for Pebble Ridge, Woodridge curbs. That debt service is sitting there at just about $80,000 a year. Community center is sitting right now in the 731 range. It will go up next year briefly, and then I'll come back to that, and then settles down in the 740 to 740 range out through the rest of the period. Lastly, we did borrow for the accelerated roads program, and that debt service is shown there. So that's how the payments are basically divided by purpose. The payments for the community center are slightly higher in 26 than they are in the surrounding years because we had to take out a note to cover the absence of grant funding until the end of the project. So that was something that is additional note which we will pay off in 26, and it'll be gone. It's no longer in there. So hopefully this gives everybody an idea of how the money is being allocated. Are there any questions on debt service?
That's really helpful. Thank you.
I can't hear her question.
What's the percentage of debt to budget?
Well, it's 1.6 million over 14 million. So 10, 11%. Something like that.
How does that compare to other municipalities?
Why don't you take that?
How does that compare to other municipalities? Well, take for instance, Buckingham. They have very little debt over there. Plumstead, as far as that is concerned, I think what we're doing here in Doylestown Township far exceeds what any other township is doing in Central Bucks County. So, their municipalities have much smaller capital projects. Like Warwick, I believe, has 10 projects a year. And, but again, I really don't have a definitive answer as far as what compared to other municipalities are concerned.
I was looking up that information this week, and don't quote me on it, but I did see that there is like an industry kind of standard when it comes to debt to budget. Somewhere around 10 to 12% is acceptable range for it. You're still in a pretty healthy place.
And not that we're proposing any more debt, but we're nowhere near our legal limit in that regard. Nowhere near.
Is there any additional questions? So I hope the Finance Department was able to present enough material, factual numbers, graphs, so that the Board of Supervisors would have confidence in their 2026 budget. And, we were looking, like I said, our goal was to get authorization from the supervisors to move the budget to the next stage and present it for the November meeting to the public.
I'm good for you to do that.
Comfortable?
I agree.
I agree.
Nancy?
I really don't think we should have any budget increase. I think we need to tighten it up. I don't want to see any millage, so I'm just moving it forward. I think we need to maybe pull in some of the things we've talked about.
Well, it seems like
Got consensus here.
consensus is to just move
We
forward.
lost Nancy.
Oh,
Right
is
there?
it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Can I unplug it?
yeah, unplug it.
Let's get her back on the phone.
We lost Nancy. She must have hung up.
Hi, Stephanie. I don't know what happened. I got disconnected.
Yeah, we did. So we got you back on. You were indicating to the board, you wanted to have more time to review or discussion to remove items from the budget and not have a quarter mil increase.
But the rest of the board is moving forward by consensus and majority.
The consensus is that we'll move forward with this. I just want to emphasize that the 2026 proposed millage increase amounts to maybe a 1% increase in our millage for each homeowner. We have, Nancy, hold on, I'm talking, hold on, Nancy. We have a 1% increase. There's going to be increases in.
I would like to see us to have no increase.
Can we just have one person talking at a time? I think Jen has the floor.
I'm sorry, I can't hear it echoing, so I apologize if I'm talking over anyone.
So the proposed millage, nobody wants to have a millage increase. But if you're looking to be responsible, I at least personally recognize that we are going to have employees that are going to have pay increases, as they do every year. The cost of everything that we do is going to go up with potential inflation. We're going to have some more expensive, things are going to get more expensive for us regardless. Just like any other business, it goes up. A 1% increase due to inflation is really, I don't think, is unreasonable. And it's obviously not something that we want to do, but I also don't think it's unreasonable.
Okay, so we're moving
All right.
forward.
Moving
Okay,
forward.
great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we're in an impasse then, but
We're not at an
No,
impasse.
we
We're
have
moving forward.
consensus. We're moving forward.
No impasse.
We have consensus from a majority of the board to at least get the budget book put together with that quarter mil, and the board will then have an opportunity to review the budget at your November meeting, and you can have further discussion.
Sounds good.
Okay. What's next?
I think that's everything.
Yes, that is everything.
Move for adjournment.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. We have an executive session at 6:15.